Our brains are fundamentally different from babies.
I think we've briefly touched on interactions and the importance of like social interactions in the language. What are your thoughts on that?
Especially when we think about babies. I don't know why people always want to compare to learning like babies. I said this in a comment the other day, and
Yeah.
like our brains are fundamentally different from babies. And what I mean by that is like the way that we process information is very different. A baby comes to a situation with no knowledge. They just kind of are willing to accept what happens to them. But adults have expectations and they have goals. And so like imagine if you go into a class expecting to be fluent in a month. That's an insane goal, but it'll of course affect the way that you're doing things. When you don't reach that goal, you're going to be demotivated very quickly.
If you don't believe something is going to work, it's definitely not going to work for you, no matter how much evidence there is. What do you think the role of, from adults learning language, what do you think the role of social interactions are?
So social interaction, what the benefit, especially if you have like a language partner or some, or they can really help scaffold your learning. Learning is not like, doesn't happen in a vacuum, especially if you take children as an example. Children don't learn just by hearing their parents talk. Their parents communicate with them. That's why it's amazing to me how people will be like, they just sit there and absorb all the language. Really, if I put my child in front of the TV and put the news on, are they going to be an Anchorman when they're, by the time they're 2? No, they're not going to know what's going on.
So no, I think a lot of it, as you're saying, like kind of having it as a scaffold, and also, as you mentioned lastly there, like making it relevant to your life. Like for me personally, I think I was very lucky because I had like so many Chinese friends and still do. They're like, the fact it makes Chinese learning relevant to me because I know that I'm going to go, the things I'm learning, I'm going to go and use on a daily basis with them. Try and surround yourself with like try and meet people in the language. I think that's so beneficial for getting fluent and for picking up like these kind of little details that you otherwise wouldn't really get.